Air travel is back in a big way, and our media partners at the San Francisco Standard have the data to prove it. They've written an article about travel edging closer to pre-pandemic levels. It seems Bay Area airports are faring better in getting back to normal than some other major airports. Joining us live now to break down the numbers is the Standard's data journalist, Liz Lindquister. Liz, nice to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk about this. The rise in passenger traffic after several tough years for the airlines during the pandemic. How's the recovery for us?
Yeah, so I think it depends on which airports you're looking at, whether it's a more regional one like Oakland or San Jose versus somewhere like San Francisco International. But they're closely edging back towards pre-pandemic levels. I think San Jose is already back up to 82% of what kind of passenger air traffic it was seeing in 2019. So they're back on track. There's some other airports across the nation that are outpacing us, but a lot of it can be attributed to kind of the rise in international travel in the last year or so.
All right. Do you also share some local statistics with us in addition to what you just cited? So we'll go ahead and put that up. It looks like SFO and San Jose really up more than 50%. This is comparing what period?
This is comparing by the end of November, year over year, 2021 versus 2022. And this chart kind of just shows that over the last year, San Francisco saw the biggest growth out of a lot of these airports in the number of passengers it was seeing going through its airports. And again, that's largely attributed to things like international travel or the return of domestic travel in the area.
You know, any idea why our region's airports are doing booming business right now at the airports when you consider that that's not so in our downtowns, right? With a lot of office space empty in San Francisco and many workers haven't returned to the office, plus the recent tech layoffs. So I know you mentioned tourism, but is that the whole picture?
I think it's a big part of it. There was a lot of conversation about how a lot of Asian countries opening up for travel, international travel again, was pretty good news for airports on the West Coast, mostly because they serve as like connecting points or hubs to travel over the Pacific to bring both tourists and, people just visiting families or just visiting for the first time. So that might be one of the causes and potentially also just changes in behavior towards travel. California and San Francisco tend to be a little bit more conservative when it comes to taking risks when it comes to the pandemic and COVID. So there's a lot of behavioral explanations in addition to just opening up international borders for travel and tourism again.
Definitely. And of course, this is important to the local economy, right? The tourists will bring dollars to so many different sectors. But I want to ask you if you think that holiday travel woes we saw over the holidays when you had the big blizzard right before Christmas, and then you had Southwest Airlines technology totally melting down, stranding people for a week or so. Do you think these events may dampen travel at all in the near future?
Yes and no. I think that was a very isolated incident that was obviously made worse by the fact that there were just so many bad weather events around Christmas time. And, the airports that were really hit by that were Oakland and San Jose, which service a lot of Southwest airline flights, which really took the brunt of that December time travel. But it looks like numbers are still rising again for passengers traveling through airports. There might just be a little bit more caution when it comes to cancellations or bad weather in the future.
Okay. Hey, I hear 2 Bay Area airports are planning renovations or upgrades. You want to tell us about those?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of news from Oakland and San Jose that they are receiving a lot of federal funding through the bipartisan infrastructure bill signed by President Biden. I think San Jose recently just found out that it would receive roughly $11 million in funding to help upgrade its facilities, add more restaurants, and basically make travel better in the Bay Area region.
What's interesting was because of the recent atmospheric rivers, I started to think about whether additional improvements might need to be made to our airports to be able to handle that. For example, drain, any flooding more quickly, or if you start to get more, different kinds of wind shear or different wind directions, do we need to consider, configuring our runways a certain way? I know that's hard to change, but do you know if that's part of the discussion, climate-related airport changes?
I mean, I definitely imagine so. I think that a lot of Bay Area airports are not equipped with the kind of facilities to handle the kind of extreme weather events that we're seeing, just like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Actually, one of our editors in the company was trying to travel the other day and found that San Francisco doesn't have like natural defrosting abilities for its planes. So it takes a while for a lot of its airplanes to fly off when it gets too cold or there's too much ice on the runway.
Yep.
And so
All
those are
right.
just
Well, that is
examples of how
all the time we
changing.
have for, but you're right. New things to be concerned with. You can check out more of the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting at sfstandard.com.